All right, good morning. We'll get started in about a minute. All right, here we go. As promised, here is practice test number 2. It is a copy of what the test will look like. It just won't be this many questions. So there are what, 32 questions on this one. There will not be 32 questions on the test. However, the categories will still be the same. I'm going to ask you questions on how to add and subtract integers. I'm going to ask you questions how to multiply and how to divide integers. I'm going to ask you to solve two-step equations. I'll ask you to plot points. I'll ask you to write the coordinates of points. And lastly, I'll ask you to graph linear equations. Take the 2 practice tests, the one from yesterday and the one from today. Use those as guides of where you stand. Make sure we don't get to tomorrow. There'll be no class tomorrow. It's just take the test tomorrow. I'll have the test pop up at 7:30 in the morning. You can take it at your leisure during that day. Make sure you send me a good, solid copy, either a picture of the test with the answers written on it, or you can take the test and write the answers on a separate sheet of paper. I don't care, either one. Make sure it's legible. Make sure I can understand your work. If there is any work involved, obviously for the adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, there's not much work involved. But for the especially the graphing the linear equations and solving the equations, there is work involved. So make sure I can read your work. All right, I said for those of you that showed up today, this was going to be the day for the people that either wanted to see it again or the people that needed help. If you know what you're doing, there's no requirement for you to watch this class. There is a requirement for you to do the practice test. I had a whole bunch of people email me and say, hey, do I really need to send a copy of the practice test in on Teams? Well, the only way that I know that you're even attempting to do this is if I get something from you. So the answer is yes, I do need to see you turn this in on Teams, even though I am giving you the answers. But this is the way that we hold ourselves accountable, is that I can see that you're actually doing the work. All right, are there any questions before we get started?
So do we have to turn the practice test? We already know what we're doing.
Well, yeah, I mean, the only way that I know that you've actually done the practice test is if you turn something in. So if I said no to this, then there'd be people that wouldn't even try to attempt this. So yes, I need you to turn in the practice test. That is correct. All right.
Okay.
Anyone else? And as I said, tomorrow there won't be a video. There'll just be you guys take the test. And then the other class is because they already took their CMAS, they're going to be a little bit ahead of you. But when you guys come back, you'll take your CMAS, and finally we'll be back together again for the end of the year. All right. So if you have any friends in that other 7th grade class and you're like, what are you guys doing? Well, they've already taken the test. They're going to be doing other material. All right, here we go. Let's see. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to add and subtract. And as I said, I don't care if you have this solid or whatnot, you should on your resource card, I don't know, maybe have a box or two, something, at least somewhere on your paper. I'll put it here smack dab in the middle. You should have something that tells you what do you do when you add, and what do you do, add, subtract, and what do you do when you multiply, divide. So I'm just going to put the word add here. And then I'm going to use some big time abbreviations, S for same, D for different. And the more of this you do, right, the more familiar, comfortable you are with the procedures. So if the signs are the same when you're adding, well, then you add. If the signs are different when you are adding, that's a positive and a negative or a negative and a positive, then you subtract. So those are the, boy, we're getting really a bunch of shortcuts now. That's the advice. Now remember, I'm leaving off a bunch of stuff here. When you add the numbers, if you're adding positives, the answer is positive. If you're adding negatives, the answer is negative. When you subtract, well, the procedure, big minus small, more negatives, more positives, that's also part of the procedure. I'm just choosing to leave that off in my little box here. The other rule we have is for multiply, divide. Looks basically the same. I'm just going to put the word multiply. Same rule for division. And once again, we're either going to have same signs or we're going to have different signs. If the signs are the same, the answer is positive, POS, positive. If the signs are different, right, a positive and a negative or a negative and a positive, then the answer is negative. And that's really all you need, as long as you understand all the details. Excuse me. So the only thing we have left is to go through a bunch of these. I will go through as much or as little as you want today. So let's see who we got in the room here. Jaden, what do you want me to go over for addition, subtraction? Pick one. Jaden.
Hi.
Pick one.
5, negative 5 and 5. Number 3.
Number 3. All right. So number 3, yeah, it looks a little weird, right? You have a -5 minus 5. Well, we go back to our rules, and we're simply looking to the left of each number to figure out what is its sign. Well, 5, that second 5 is a negative, and the first 5 is a negative. Well, those are same signs. When you have same signs, the rules say to add the two numbers. 5 plus 5 is 10. And then if you're adding negatives, the answer is negative. If you're adding positives, the answer is positive. So there we go, -10. Now, what kind of work do I expect you to show me on the test? Well, first and foremost, you got to write the correct answer. But secondly, there's no work here, right? You're following the rules, and most of these steps are done in your head. If you would like to write all the rules, then it would look something like this. Well, the rule says to add the two numbers. 5 plus 5 is 10. And then right from there, you're going to go from there to the final answer, which is -10, since you were adding negative numbers. I will just say, I don't expect many people to show me steps. As we go into 8th grade, no math teacher would expect you to do steps for -5 minus 5. They would expect you to write -10. And I'm okay with that. All right, Jasmine, how about you pick one?
Let's do number 4.
Let's do number 4. So number 4, once again, this is an adding, subtracting one. And by the way, how do we know it's adding, subtracting? Because there's no multiplication or division. So we look to the left of each number, and it looks like they're both negative again. So it's the same as the previous one. We add the two numbers. 3 plus 7 is 10. We're adding negatives. Hey, it's the same answer, -10, -10. Gavin, pick one.
Number 8.
Number 8. Ooh, yeah, everything's negative there. Okay, so the one rule that we did not write down is if you ever have two negatives in between the two numbers. Notice I have -1 minus -4. So if you ever have those two negatives, I'm not talking about two negatives like the previous one, because those were next to the numbers. This is between the two numbers. So when you have those two negatives, we rewrite the first number. The first number is -1. We change those two negatives to one positive, not a positive and a negative, just to one big honking positive. And then we go to town. We look to the left, that one's positive. We look to the left, that one's negative. Those are different signs. Different signs says subtract, big minus small. 4 minus 1 is 3. And then finally, to figure out whether it's positive or negative, we think about, do we have more positives or do we have more negatives? Hey, we have 4 positive coins, 1 negative coin. There's more positive. The answer is +3. All right, do you guys want to see any more adding or subtracting problems?
No, I think we're good on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Well, let's move on to multiplication division. Now, multiplication division, the rules are the same, right? If you're multiplying with same signs, the answer is positive. You do whatever it tells you to do, multiply or divide. If you're multiplying or dividing with opposite signs, then the answer is negative. So for instance, on number 11, both numbers are negative. Remember, we look to the left to see what they are. So those are same signs. So the answer is going to be positive. 7 times 10 is 70. So the answer is +70. On number 12, the 6 is positive. You don't have to put these arrows. I'm just doing this creature of habit. The 10 is negative, the different signs. 6 is positive, 10 is negative. So the answer is going to be negative. Notice I put that negative even before I do the multiplication. That way there's a chance, and one of the biggest mistakes you make when you're dealing with positive and negatives is something called dropping the negative. You get so concentrated on, you might even think, hey, the answer is going to be negative, and then your brain switches over to 6 times 10, and you're concentrating on that, and you get 60, and you're so happy you get 60 that you forget that it was -60. So the way you keep from making that mistake is, the first thing you do is, for multiplication division, is you figure out, is the answer going to be positive or negative? Hey, the answer is going to be negative, so I write a negative. And that way I can't screw up and drop my negative. And then you can concentrate on 6 times 10. So maybe keeping your brain doing only one thing at a time, there's a chance of not making a mistake. Division problems are no different than the multiplication problems for whether the answer is positive or negative. It's the same rule. Of course, however, you are doing, let me talk about 13. 0 times any number is 0. So even though you might think the answer is -0, well, technically 0 is neither positive nor negative. 0 times any number, positive or negative, is 0. So if you're multiplying anything times 0, the answer is always 0. For division, the rule doesn't change, right? It's just that you're doing division. So 35 is positive, 7 is negative. So I know the answer is going to be negative. Now we do the division. Remember, it's always first number divided by second number. First number. If you have to do long division in this form, the divisor is always the second number. The first number is your dividend, the number that goes inside. So 7 into 35. Well, that goes 5 times. And notice, since I already said the answer was negative and it was already there, I didn't have to think about it. I just have to do the division. I only throw the long division here because, I don't know, maybe there might be a couple that you think you need to use long division. I'm not lying when I'm going to say I'm going to use easy numbers like you see in front of you. Just straight up, the basic multiplication table, 1 through 12. I can determine whether, what I'm trying to figure out here is, can you add, subtract, multiply, and divide with integers, positive and negative numbers? Not can you divide a triple digit number by a double digit number? So I can get by with not making the math. Well, math technically is easy, but I'm still evaluating, can you deal with integers? All right, do you guys want to see any more multiplication or division ones?
No.
All right, I'm going to leave those rules up. We will still use those when we move to two-step equations. All right, I think I had the most questions yesterday on the two-step equations. So remember, the basic rule for solving a two-step equation, number 1, figure out what side the variable is on. It'll either be on the left or the right side. Step number 2, at least for 7th grade, get rid of the addition subtraction first. Next year in 8th grade, you'll see the one time, it only happens like once in a blue moon, that you'll get rid of multiplication or division first. But 99.9% of the time, you get rid of addition subtraction first. All right, number 21, the V is the variable. It's on the left side of the equal sign. So I need to get rid of what's being added or subtracted first. That's +1. To get rid of addition, you subtract. So I subtract 1 from both sides. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other side. By design, 1 minus 1 is 0. Poof, it goes away. So we're left with V over 4 is equal to 6 minus 1. Technically, we're supposed to go back to the adding rules. Different signs Big minus small is 5. There's more positive, so the answer is 5. And now we get rid of this 4. 4 is attached to V through division. You get rid of division, we multiply. We multiply by the number we're trying to get rid of. I'm not trying to get rid of 5. I'm trying to get the V by itself, so I'm multiplying by 4. Make sure you put that 4 next to the V, not next to the 4. 4 times 4 is 16. But 4 times V divided by 4, 4 divided by 4, hey, that would cancel. 4 divided by 4, remember, cancel is just a way of rewriting the number 1. 1 times V is V. 5 times 4 is 20. Be careful, there could be negatives involved. Just be ready for that. So put a box around it or something like that to indicate, hey, there's my answer. If we wanted to do a check step, this is the optional thing. Don't need to do this on the test to show me you're doing this. But if you want to check to see if you had the right answer, you plug 20 back into V. 20 divided by 4 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. Yeah, that's the right answer. Check steps are optional. I don't need to see that you did a check step. But if you'd like to do one, just so you know that you got the right answer, that would be a smart thing. All right, let me do one. Number 22 is just like the one that we just did. There's just a negative involved. Let's see one that looks differently. All right, 23 and 24 look different. Let's do those. All right, 23. The variable n is on the right side. I'm going to get rid of the addition subtraction first. Now be careful. It looks like there's subtraction here, but that's a -7 that's attached to n through multiplication. So what's attached by addition or subtraction is that 8 is attached by addition. To get rid of addition, we subtract 8 from both sides. It's the inverse of addition is subtraction. 8 minus 8 is 0 by design. So we're left with -7n. And when I say by design, I mean, by design, I'm trying to get rid of that 8. That's why I already know it's gone, because I did the inverse operation. It's going to get rid of it. All right, looks like an uglier number here. I got to borrow 1 from the 3. That makes it a 14. 8 from 14 is a 6. So I'm left with 126. Ooh, boy, I hope 7 goes into 126. Notice the -7 is attached to the n by division or multiplication. We get rid of multiplication by division. Even before I write the final answer, let's see, what can I figure out? -7 divided by -7 cancels. It turns into 1. So I already know that on the right side, I get an n. And on the left side, well, I got a positive divided by negative. I know the answer is negative. Now the only thing left to do is scratch work long division. I'm going to do it over here, but just remember on your paper, make sure that you write it somewhere. You'd have this big open spot right here. Let's see. I need to divide 126 by 7. You're like, no, 126, not 127. 126 by 7. You're like, no, you're dividing by negative. So agreed. We are dividing by -7, but I've already taken that into account. I've already got that negative right there in my answer. 7 goes into 12 one time. 1 times 7 is 7. Subtract. 12 minus 7 is 5. I hope this works. Bring down the 6. Oh, it does work. 7 goes into 56 8 times. Remainder 0. So I can write 18 right here. Notice that negative was already there, so I don't make that mistake. That's usually how you drop a negative, because you get so you concentrate so much on either a multiplication or division one that you forget that the answer was negative. All right, I have done one of each flavors for, and then those are the, you're either going to be involving addition, subtraction, multiplication, or it's going to be addition, subtraction, division. Those are the only two forms. 23 involves addition and multiplication. 25 involves subtraction and division, and those are the two flavors. All right, does anybody want to see something, one of these that you think is hard, you'd like to see it done?
Give me a minute. 29 and 30.
All right, let's do that one. All right, I'm going to erase this because I need extra space. All right, 29 and 30. Wait, that's not two-step equation. Any one of the two-step equations?
24.
24. Let's take a look at 24. I mean, the numbers look ugly, right? But don't assume that it'll be ugly just because the numbers look that way. All right, the variable is on the right side. I got to get rid of this 10 and I got to get rid of this -3. Well, the 10 is attached through multiplication and the other one's a -3. It's attached by addition, right? So I'm going to get rid of the -3 first. And that's the key. I'm getting rid of -3. You get rid of -3 not by subtracting 3. You get rid of -3 by adding 3 to both sides. That's probably the one that's going to cause problems. Because you're like, well, it's attached by addition, right? But to get rid of a -3, you have to add 3 to both sides. 3 minus 3 is 0. -3 minus 3 is -6. You didn't get rid of it. You made it bigger if you subtract 3 from both sides. So we're going to get rid of this -3 by adding 3 to both sides. 197 plus 3, that's why you're about to see that it's not that big of a deal. It's 200. And on the other side, 3 minus 3 is 0, so we're left with 10 m. 10 is attached to m through multiplication. We get rid of multiplication by division. So we divide both sides by 10. The 10s cancel. And 200 divided by 10 would be 20. So 20 equals m. Gavin, was it you that wanted to see that?
I think it was Caden.
That was Katie.
Caden,
That's Caden.
what do you think, Caden? Yes, no, maybe?
Yep.
Cool. All right. As I suspected, most of you wanted to do the linear equations, but before we do that, we need to go over the points. So we'll do this real quickly. That's kind of big. I'm going to make this a bit smaller. There we go. Just for this one. All right. So remember the key steps when you graph points. Is you label X, Y, and then if you are not an expert at this, I would make sure that maybe even you circle on your graph just so that you can confirm to yourself where the X and the Y axes are. X goes left and right, Y goes up and down. For the X axis, the positive numbers are, if this is the origin, the positive numbers are to the right, the negative numbers are to the left. For the Y axis, the positive numbers are above the origin and the negative numbers are below the origin. So when we graph point C here, it says on the X number line, we need to go to +3. So positive is to the right. So I'm going to put a little dot here just for keeping, but you don't need to put a dot when you're actually doing this. I'm over here at 3 on the X axis, and then it says for the Y value, I need to go to -4. -4, 4 tick marks below the origin. So I wind up final position. I should probably do that in a different color. Final position is right here. So, and then make sure you label point C. All right, it looks like I didn't give you anyone with 2 negative numbers, so I'll make one up here. So point Z is at -4, -5. So how do you handle 2 negatives? Well, remember it goes X, Y. So from the origin, I'm not going to the right 4 because I need to go to -4. So I go left 4, and then I go down straight to number 5. So there is point Z at -4, -5. The other one I said would give you a problem. We'll call this point X, are the ones that involve a 0. So 0, 4. Remember, it still goes X, Y. So we're going nowhere left or right. In fact, we're still on the origin if we go to 0. But for the Y value, we go up 4, and we're sitting right smack there. Expect there to be a 0 tomorrow. There will definitely be negatives, and a couple of them might be double negatives, but I didn't give you any practice on this one.
Mr. Chartier,
Yes.
why are you doing stuff in red when you were trying to do the other equations? Because I'm so confused. Because you did Z and X where there's no Z and X up there.
I know. I was looking at the 5 points that I gave you on number 27. Notice every single one of them the numbers positive and one of them is negative. Do you see that on 27? Do you see the question there? A, B, C, and D, one of the numbers is negative and one of the numbers is positive. So I wanted to show you an example where both numbers were negative, or I wanted to show you one where there was a zero involved as well too. So I was just giving you extra.
Thank you.
All right. All right. The opposite of that is I will give you points and you have to write the coordinates. I will give you points and you'll have to write the coordinates. So Jasmine, pick one. Pick one of those points.
I'll pick R.
All right, let's look at R. So let's see, R is right here. I'll circle it. Remember, all points are of the form parentheses with a comma in between and then parentheses, and it should go X, Y. Do you have to write X, Y? No, you don't, but you can. It wouldn't be wrong. So let's see, to go to point R, we would have to go not to the right, we would go to the left. And when you go to the left, that's negative, and it looks like we're going over 1. So -1. And then the Y value, if you go down, that's negative. If you go up, that's positive. So from the origin, it looks like we're going up 1 for R. So point R is at -1, +1. Oh, look, we got a 0, 1 right here, S. We'll do S. So S, let's see, we're not going left or right at all. So if you don't go left or right at all, it's a 0. If you don't go up or down at all, the Y value is a 0. But here we're not going left or right, we're only going down, and we're going down 2. So down means negative. So 0, -2. All right, does anybody want to see any more of those, or we got that? Silence means we're ready to move on. All right, let's move on. All right, there's 4 of these. Doesn't really matter which one we do. Have a called on everyone. Let's see. Called on Kane, Jaden, Vea. Vea, pick one.
You pick. I don't know.
All right. I would say that if you're going to have a problem, it's going to be on number 29.
Okay.
Number 29. So let's look at 29. Table of pain. All right. Table of pain. So we need 3 columns and 3 rows. 4 rows if you count the top. So it goes X, and then it goes the equation Y equals -X minus 2. And the last column is the point X comma Y. For those of you that are paying attention, you know that you can already have the last column filled in for X when you pick the 3 points, -1, 0, and 1. Remember, if you only pick 2 points, yeah, it's always going to make a line. You're just not sure if you got it right or not. So I would always, I mean, even in high school, always pick 3 points. All right, so the only thing we have left to do is just toss in those values. So I'm going to rewrite the equation, Y equals. Notice the first thing after the equal sign is a negative sign, so I put a negative sign. Then it says to write X. Well, X is -1. I can put parentheses, I don't have to. -2. Put parentheses if there's multiplication involved. And what does that equal? 2 negatives make somebody?
A positive.
Positive.
Both of those turn into 1 positive. So that's 1 minus 2. Those are different signs. So we subtract 2 minus 1 is 1. There's more negatives than positives. So we get -1. So when I threw in -1, I got another -1. That's fine. So I can graph that point. That's supposed to be parentheses, not a 1. All right. So -1, -1. So that's left 1, down 1, big honking dot. Toss in 0. We like 0. It makes the math really easy. Negative, then the X value, which is 0 minus 2. Well, it doesn't matter. 0 doesn't do anything to anything, right? 0 minus 2, even when it says -0 minus 2 is just, well, 0 doesn't do anything. It's just -2. That's what we like about it. So when I throw 0 in, I got the value -2. Now, like I said, I'm always going to get a line when I plug in the second point because it's going to be somewhere on here, two points to find a line. So I'm going left to right 0, and I'm going down 2. And you can kind of see where the line goes. We started here, now we're down here. My prediction is it's going to wind up right here. Now be careful. I know yesterday I did this prediction thing as well too. Don't make a prediction, but I'm just doing that as a teaching thing of where we think it should be. Let's find out where it actually is. Y is equal to negative, well, X value is 1 this time, minus 2. Hey, we got same signs. Same signs means you add 1 plus 2 is 3, but we're adding negatives. So -3. So when I threw in the value +1, I got a Y value of -3. Was my prediction right? 1, -3 it was. Don't forget, you have to draw a line. So if we draw a line, we can see that in fact, all right, my line's messed up there. Let me make it more pretty. Let's see. There, that's pretty. Right through the points. What do you know? Okay, that's what I would expect on the test. I would expect a line with 2 arrows on the end. All right, you have now seen the test 2 days in a row. You've seen everything. We did adding, the rules for adding, same signs you add, opposite signs or different signs you subtract. We did multiplication and division, same signs, the answer's positive, different signs, the answer's negative. We did 2-step equations. We follow the rules. Remember, the rules are find the variable, get rid of addition, subtraction first, then get rid of multiplication, division. You need to remember the rules for add, subtract, multiply, and divide to do that. Then we graph points. Remember, everything is in relationship to the origin. Up means positive, down means negative on the y-axis. For the x-axis, left means negative, right means positive. The point is x comma y, not y comma x. Be careful if there's zeros or negatives involved. I'll also give you points. You'll have to graph the not calculate, but write the coordinates. And then lastly, you got these table of pains. I will not give you 4 of them. There will only be 2 on the test. One of them will be very easy. One of them will have like a, I don't know, a number attached to X as well too. So there'll be a multiplication one involved. Are there any questions either from yesterday or today?
Nope.
All right, so how it works is tomorrow we will, at 7:30, the test will pop up. I think it's 7:30. It's either 7 or 7:30 that I had the test will pop up. Go ahead and do the test at your leisure. That means you don't have to necessarily do it during period 1. You can do it during your lunch break. It just needs to be done during that day. For those of you that want to see this again, I will have this video posted within, let's see, what time is it? 8:10. So I'll have a video post so it pops up at 8:30. So for those of you that, I went too fast or something for you, you want to hear it again, right? Remember, you can play it again. You can hit the pause button. For those of you who haven't, or, you think that there's one part of this or 2 parts of this that you need help on, you got 2 tests. You got multiple questions. Do the questions over and over again, right? Don't do it for hour upon hour, but I mean, put some time into it so that you have the procedures down. Play the video of me working through some of the problems. If that helps, you can pause it, rewind it if I'm going too fast, that sort of thing. But good luck on your test. Any final questions?
No, not that I know of.
Jasmine, you feeling confident?
Very confident.
You should be. I think you're going to do well on this. All right. I will not see you tomorrow, and unless you send me a chat or something like that, I will see you on today's Thursday. Oh yeah. So tomorrow is the test is Friday. So I will see you guys on not Monday because it's 3-day weekend. I will see you guys on Tuesday, and we will start the final chapter of the book. Yay. Yay for us. All right. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
What are we going to do after that chapter? That next chapter?
I just said I would see you tomorrow. I won't see you tomorrow. I'll see you on Tuesday. That last chapter will take us into semester finals.
Okay.
So believe it or not, next week is, the end of next week is when May starts. So how that works is the last 2 weeks of May. So the very last week of semester finals. Remember what we did at the end of Christmas or right before Christmas? We had that whole week of finals week where you came in for half a day, took a test, and you went home. It'll be the same thing. So we'll take the finals week. So the week before the final week for me on that Wednesday is when I switch to, we do 3 days of review for the final. So what that really means is we only have, when we get back in May, we only have 2 weeks of classes where you learn new material. And that's basically the last chapter.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So I will not see you tomorrow. You will be taking the test. I will see you on Tuesday. You guys have a
Yes,
good
sir.
weekend and we'll